we're cleaning up sandbags from the garden today. I have a lot of sandbags in here for the row covers and for the silage tarps. I just cleaned up my silage tarps, not just me, but everybody in the family helped to fold them all up. We still need to take them to the barn, but we're left with a lot of sandbags and it just looks really messy and really terrible in here right now. That was one of my big goals I talked about from the last video. I really wanted to clean up my garden. So we're working on it now. I'm super embarrassed to show you actually what it looks like in here because it looks like a tornado went through here. We get a ton of windstorms and we'll blow off covers and then it ends up in random places all over the garden. So I'm just giving you guys a little bit of reality today before we get started with the garden season. We got to do a lot of cleanup out here.
You can use this one. This one's really light.
I have just an hour of daylight left today, but I really wanted to get some stuff done in here today. I really need to wrap this up, so even if it goes until dark, I'm gonna finish. So what I am doing is I am prepping this middle bed for carrots and greens, and I need to broad fork for the carrots, and then for the greens, I don't really need to do anything, but I do need to mark out where the rows are gonna go, and we'll just wet it down and then plant. I'm just about finished with the broad forking, but the good news is that it is way easier than I anticipated. I thought it would be a little bit more difficult because I am pregnant, but it's actually easier for a couple reasons. One, because I've broad forked this middle row in the tunnel many times, so it's pretty loose just to begin with. So the second thing that I didn't realize was, being pregnant, I am a little bit heavier than I normally am, so the broad fork slides right into the ground quite a bit easier. So it may look like a workout, but it's really not that hard. I was doing really good on timing, and then I just realized I brought the wrong seed roller for my cedar, so I need to run back to the house and grab that. And I'll probably just grab a flashlight too, just in case, so I can plant. So I'm gonna change this roller out. The carrots that I'm planting today are a hybrid carrot. I don't plant a ton of hybrids just because I like to save my own seeds. But I know that I'm not going to save seeds from these, and they're quick maturing and they are really good for this time of year, so I'm going to do those instead of a open pollination type. It's a little extra challenging to plant at night, but I managed to make it work by taking off my headlamp and holding it to the side so that I could actually see where I had marked to take the cedar down the rows. I do 3 rows of carrots on a 30-inch wide garden bed, and then after I finished the carrots I did greens, and for the greens I did 6 or 7 rows across. I just kind of plant them as tightly as I possibly can, and it had gotten pretty much completely dark by this point. But after I planted a small section of greens, I watered it again. Over the last few years, a big piece of my frustration in the garden has come from the fact that I have no storage places in here. I don't have a shed, I don't have a tool area or anything like that. Everything that I store, I either have to store in our house, in our garage, or over in our barn. And both of those are fairly far away, which adds a lot of time, especially if I forget things, and I forget things all the time, so I have to run to the house and then run back to the garden, to the house and back. I don't know if I've ever shown the location of our house in proximity to our garden. It's right there. It's about my guess is like 500 feet away. So the barn is right over here. Our turkey tractor's in front of it. That is probably 3 times farther than the house. We're hoping to remedy part of that issue this year, and Cam is gonna build an open air stand thing for all of our tools. It's not in the cards this year for us to do a garden shed, even though I would love one. We're just gonna do the more budget-friendly version of the tool stand for right now, and hopefully that'll save me a lot of time and in running back and forth to our house. So the nice thing is we do have the ATV now, which will help us to carry a lot of the mess that's in here right now to the barn, because that's where I want to store it. I have row covers in here, shade cloth, some the quick hoops I have in here, and just random little odds and ends that really need to be cleaned up and put away. In the barn, that is also a mess right now, but this is real life and reality here. It's not always looking perfect, so we are going to organize that somewhat too at some point. We just haven't gotten to it yet, but Cam's gonna grab some hooks so I can hang my rolls of row cover so they don't get eaten by the rodents, because that has been a real issue for us, is if we store anything on the ground, it does get eaten by mice. So we're gonna store it up in the air, and then hopefully that should alleviate some of that problem. I don't know where I'm gonna put the already cut pieces of row cover other than just like,
Oh.
I was gonna keep the quick hoops, the 100-foot length row cover,
Yeah.
and the plastic all in one,
There we go.
so that when I want to do the quick hoops again, I can just grab it and it's all together.
So, yeah. Or somebody hold these.
Oh! Oh, it's like, yeah.
Cause 7
I
plus
15.
What Cam and I were talking about in the barn was my quick hoops, which is just basically a low tunnel, very similar to my Caterpillar tunnel. It does the same function. It's covered with some row cover and some plastic, and it creates a protected area for the plants during the winter. I used some extra thick row cover for this purpose, so I didn't want to just put it with all of my other row covers, and this is one of the only row covers I have that is 100 feet long as well. So I wanted to keep it separate from the rest of the row covers that I own. And then also I have a special piece of greenhouse plastic that goes with it. It's a lot thicker, it lasts a lot longer. We ended up folding the plastic into thirds, and then we just rolled it back up on the tube that it came with, and then we are going to take all of that and put it together in the barn. You want me to like hold that, or what would be easier? Like if I turn it? There's a string stuck underneath maybe a sandbag. Yeah, thanks.
Do you want me to go get that other braid over there and put it in the joiner?
Yeah. If it can fit. For the last couple of row covers on this side of the garden, instead of folding them like I did the others, I made a daisy chain. All it is a series of loops that's really easy to create and take apart, and it helps to keep the row cover more compact and easy to store. We're wrapping it up for the day. Overall, I'm super happy with the progress that we have made so far. It was a beautiful day today, so it was very nice to be outside and to get some of this stuff done. Also, not as windy as some of our other days up here, so it was a good day to fold up some of those covers. We got the quick hoops all cleaned up and put into the barn. I will be using them again next year and doing some things a little bit differently because they did fall over halfway through the winter and there were some problems with it, but I know how to remedy it now, so we'll do that for next year. The last thing left for today is I'm just gonna go into my caterpillar tunnel and water what I just seeded yesterday. My kale and my onions are starting to sprout, which is pretty exciting. I'll show you. So here is the kale, and this is cilantro that hasn't sprouted yet. And this one over here, this is celery, and that will take several weeks to sprout. And then over in here is my onions. See a little sprout coming up right there. We are expecting cold weather tomorrow. May or may not put a row cover over these just in case, but I think they'll probably be fine in here.